Welcome back, everyone. I'm Dr. Lon Schiffbauer, and today we're going to talk about why we communicate. And as we're going to see, it's a lot more than just sharing information. So with this in mind, let's jump right in. And a good place to start is with a definition. So let's explore this. The purpose of communication is to inform, influence, and affect the attitudes, feelings, and behaviors of others and ourselves for a desired outcome. All right, so let's dig into this just a little bit. The first part is inform, influence, and affect. Yes, when we are communicating, we are trying to change something. There's something in our current state that we want to change to a future state. And this means informing, influencing, and affecting something in our environment. All right. Well, what are we trying to influence or affect? The attitudes, feelings, and behaviors of those in the environment and ourselves, but we're going to get to that. So we are trying to change attitudes, behaviors, thoughts, feelings, intentions. We are deliberately changing something in the environment regarding people's behavior. Okay, let's keep going. Of others, all right, that makes sense. If I want to change the behavior or attitude of somebody else, I communicate to them or with them. All right. But we are also trying to affect the attitudes and behaviors of ourselves in communication. It's not a one-way street. It's not a monologue. It's a dialogue. And that includes the purpose or intent behind the communication. All of this is done for a desired outcome. We want to affect something in our environment, both in those who share our environment as well as ourselves. Okay, so that's the sterile dictionary definition. Let's look at this through, say, the eyes of a stand-up comedian. So this is Patton Oswalt, funny man. All right, so how does he use communication to affect the attitudes and behaviors of others as well as himself for a desired outcome? All right, let's break this down. Well, first of all, in the eyes of the comedian, he's trying to influence the audience, right? He influences the audience by telling jokes. That is the medium by which he tries to influence the audience. Okay, well, he also wants to be influenced by the audience, all right? He does this by observing the audience response. He's trying to figure out, how are they responding? Do they think that was funny? How did that joke land? Things like that. So he is seeking to be influenced. Now, from the point of view of the audience, well, they want to influence the comedian. How does the audience influence the comedian? They do this by laughing and clapping. That's their way. That's the medium they use, or the media, I should say, to encourage the comedian. All right? Now, they want to be influenced by the comedian. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there watching, right? And so they want to be influenced by being provoked and being entertained. That is what they are seeking out of the exchange. Now, let's look then at the desired outcome. Now, the comedian has a desired outcome in this communication exchange. He wants to entertain, he wants to challenge authority and convention, and he wants to build a following. Right? He wants fans. All right. Well, he also wants to be influenced by the audience. So what is his desired outcome in his desire to be influenced by the audience? Well, he wants to feed off the energy in the room. Trust me, that's a big thing. He also wants to gauge which jokes are landing, and he wants to riff off the audience, right? Maybe hecklers or asking questions of the audience and riff off of them. This is the desired outcome of the comedian in being influenced by the audience. Now, what's the desired outcome of the audience? Well, they want to influence the comedian. They want to encourage a strong performance. They want to reward the very best jokes. And they want to demonstrate admiration. We think you awesome. They want to show this. Now, they have a desired outcome in being entertained by the comedian. They want to have a good time and be entertained. They want to think about things in a new way, and they want to feel a sense of belonging with the audience, with the comedian, and everything happening that evening. So this is an example of where we are both influencing and being influenced through the process of communication. Now, one quote that I like: people write or speak sentences in order to produce an effect, and the success of a sentence is measured by the degree to which the desired effect has been achieved. So, yeah, whether we're speaking or writing or gesticulating or who knows what, there's many ways in which we communicate, we're doing so for a desired effect, as demonstrated with Patton Oswalt. Okay, so let's continue on. Now, this desired outcome, this goes very, very deep. And in fact, communication is the core mechanism by which we build and sustain relationships. And this is tremendously important to ourselves. So we're trying to establish these relationships and grow them and nurture them. Communication is the mechanism by which we do this. We want to build trust, loyalty, and admiration. This is important to us because we are a community species. We need one another to survive and thrive. And communication is the means by which we persuade others to help us survive and thrive, and in turn, we help them do the same. And all of this ensures the strength and cohesiveness of a community, because the community is core. Okay. Now, this is affecting us on a very emotional level, our role in a community, as well as how communication helps us establish and sort of gauge our place in that community. So from the time we were born to right now, at this very moment, communication helps us discover ourselves in the context of society, discover and project our self-concept. So we are always trying to kind of figure out what's our place in society, what's our value, and how are we perceived, and how do I want to be perceived? Therefore, how do I project that self-concept socially and in the environment? So for example, I right now am projecting a self-concept. I do that through my background, through the template I choose in my presentation here, and my voice and so forth. I am trying to project a self-image. But this is an image that I have kind of honed and discovered through communication over the years of interacting with the community. Okay, continue on. Build and maintain relationships with others, absolutely, as well as influence others to help us survive and thrive. This is what's really important. We need one another to survive and thrive. Therefore, we influence one another to help us do so, not just individually, but as a community. All right. Another thing that communication helps us do is predict the future. Now, let's explore this. Understand the world around us so we can predict and affect what's going to happen next, and anticipate how we'll be supported or threatened, treated, right, by those around us so we can survive and thrive. We need to know what's happening. It's really core to who we are. We get very, very, very uncomfortable if we don't know what's happening. And so communication allows us to kind of keep this constant touch point on what's happening in the environment, what's happening now, what's happening socially, what is my role? Am I being treated with respect? Am I being threatened? Communication helps us keep a constant tab on everything going on in this regard. Now, if we were to break this down into three simple parts, the first thing, okay, now, how did you feel when you saw that, right? There, you had an emotional response. It could be confusion, it could be annoyance, it could be what's happening, it could be concern, all right? That's because we, all of us, are constantly asking, what's going on? What's going on? And so when I feigned that whatever fit, right, I basically brought to the forefront that question that is always in the back of your head. What's going on? And communication helps us keep a constant tab on what's going on, because we then need to figure out what's going to happen next. At that moment when you were thinking, what's going on? What's happening? Why is he doing that? You were essentially asking yourself, what's going to happen? Where is this going? I need to kind of keep a bead on where this relationship is going so that I can kind of predict the future and prepare myself for anything good, bad, or unknown that might be around the corner. Furthermore, we are always asking ourselves, how am I being treated? Am I being supported and validated, or am I being marginalized or threatened? We are always, always gauging how we are being treated. Now, every once in a while, something will come up that will bring this perpetual, eternal question up to the forefront, like when somebody cuts you off. Oh, he or she, dissed me, right? Whatever. Or when somebody opens a door for you. Oh, I'm being treated with respect and this is appropriate and good manners and thank you very much, because you want to reciprocate that positive treatment. The point is, all these questions are going on constantly, and communication is the mechanism by which we gauge and answer these questions. And ultimately, it really comes down to, how are we being treated and what is our role in this situation? The way people communicate with us lets us know if our sense of self is being enhanced, diminished, or even threatened in every situation. And yeah, we are constantly on the lookout for this. So communication is really core to us feeling comfortable and safe and a sense of belonging in the community as well as our own skin. Okay. Now, let's talk about in the community for a moment, because this is essentially what it all comes down to. We are constantly assessing, gauging, and trying to positively affect our standing in the community through communication. If we feel threatened, we lash out. If we feel validated, then we embrace it. Our role in the community is very important for our survival and our ability to thrive and self-actualize. And so communication is the tool by which we are constantly building up or validating, maintaining our position in the collective. Okay, now here's the thing though. Yes, communication is core to us understanding who we are, our role in the community, and sustaining or growing our role in the community. But all of this stuff is happening in our own head. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. Let's say for a moment that you're in a classroom. All right, you're in a classroom. Well, when you're in a classroom, you have this perception of yourself. You have a self-concept. Who are you? How do you perceive yourself? Okay, that's you perceiving yourself. Then you also have a perception of the other person. Let's say an instructor for a moment. All right, so you have your own self-concept, how you perceive yourself, and then you have a perception of the professor. Are they treating you well? Are they asking good questions? Are they answering your questions? Do they know the material? Do they dress right, or do they wear Crocs like I wear Crocs, right? That sort of thing. So you have a perception of the professor. But now check this out. You also have a perception of how the professor is perceiving you. Okay? So your self-perception, a perception of the professor, and then a perception of how the professor is then perceiving you. Are they viewing you as somebody engaged or disengaged, and so on and so forth? Now, you might be kind of like, okay, yeah, fine. I get that in theory and concept, whatever. But now, let me give you an example of where you have felt this to a tremendous degree. Think of a first date. Think back to when you had a first date with somebody that you kind of liked, right? So I'm a guy, so I'll speak from the perception of the guy here. So I'm on a first date with my future wife, right? Or somebody I really like, which was my future wife. Um, I have a self perception, right? And I really want to make sure that I am portraying, that I am projecting my self concept, right? That's one of the purposes of communication, is to discover ourselves and then project that self concept. So I have a perception of myself and I am trying to project a self concept to my future wife, right? That's not her, but you get it. Now, I also have a perception of this gal that I'm dating, right? She's pretty, she's smart, she giggles, she has good table manners, she carries herself well, she asks insightful questions, she's really with it, she's witty. I love it, right? But then I have a perception of how she is perceiving my self concept, right? And so I'm like, oh, did I say that too loud? She giggled awfully quick at that one. Did that come out right? Am I coming across as too forward? What did that expression mean? She just made an expression. What did that mean? Does she like me? Gosh, maybe I wore the wrong shirt. Did I wear the wrong shirt? I wonder if I have something in my teeth. I mean, and she, by the way, is doing the very same thing. So all these questions of our self-worth and our self-concept are being constantly challenged by ourselves and how we are perceiving others through communication. So yeah, it's nuts, right? Now, what's extraordinary to me, and I just mean extraordinary, is all of this is done through symbols. Everything in language, everything in communication is symbols. We imbue things like sounds and grunts and squiggles with meaning. So, for example, moi, je parle français. Si vous parlez français aussi, très bien. Vous me comprenez, right? So, if you speak French, you understood that. But if you don't speak French, and by the way, if you speak French, don't point out that that was the crappiest French you've ever heard. I knew it was the crappiest French, right? But still, you see, the point is that I'm just making sounds. And if you don't speak French, then those sounds are meaningless. Same thing. Let's take gambare yarabadikuru. Now, that was meaningless. But now if I were to say, hang in there, man, you're awesome, you can do it. Now all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I feel validated. I can do it. I am awesome, damn it, right? Well, now, the first phrase was Japanese, said the very same thing, and yet it had no meaning to you, except for the animation that I used in speaking, right? Whereas the second phrase, you understood it, and it had meaning, and it affected your attitudes and feelings about yourself, or at least it could, right? The written word is the same thing. These are just squiggles. They're squiggles. They're just shapes, right? And same thing, if I were to come along here and I would say, hey, there we go. You'd be like, that's meaningless. And I say, no, that's 5, right? I think ichi, ni, san, shi. No, it's not 5. I think it's 3, maybe 4. I forget, my kanji sucks. Tell me in the comments, which one is that? And yeah, by the way, it's done very poorly. Right. Forget all that. I'm drawing with a mouse. I'm digressing. The point is, written word are just squiggles that we have imbued with meaning. Same thing with gesticulation, right? I can go like this, or I can go like this. And right now in Britain, you're like, dude, you so totally didn't do that in front of the camera. I just made some, what, huh? Gesticulation we have imbued with meaning. So it's amazing to me. I know I'm geeking out, but it's amazing to me that we do everything we just talked about in communication through simply the application of symbology. All right. Is that a word? I don't know. But we're done. Congratulations. Excellent job. There you go. You now have a competitive advantage because you have a deeper understanding of the role of communication in human relationships and in affecting the attitudes and behaviors of others, both for yourself and for them, because you're affecting your own as well. And with this, you can accomplish a lot more. All right. Fantastic. Thanks a lot for joining me. And until we talk again, have a fantastic day.